Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. So, do you want to tell everybody what it is that you do?
Yes, sure. So I work with small business owners, freelancers, entrepreneurs, and I help teach them a little bit more about how they think so they can maximize their productivity, organization, and get the most out of their networking skills.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. So, I want to just talk about kind of, you went through the program and really want to give people a sense of, what it takes to be successful, kind of the success that you've had,
sure.
and what you feel like was really the biggest contributor to, where you are now compared to where you started. So,
Yeah.
the first thing I really want to ask is, where were you? Stephanie joined my 8-week boot camp. And so I want to just talk about like where were you before the program versus where are you now?
Sure. So before I started this program, I had been sort of kicking this idea around for about a year and a half and was just spinning my wheels. And I knew it was a good idea, but I wasn't quite sure how to talk about it to people or even really what it was. I didn't have any clarity on how to execute it or what exactly I wanted to do and who I wanted to do it for. So I had been talking to lots of friends and colleagues and getting good feedback, but I wasn't actually getting any traction in how to move forward with the business plan.
Yeah. And so you said how long had you been kicking it around?
About a year and a half.
A year and a half. And so what
Yeah.
changed for you? Like why were you like now is the time, I got to get help. I can't keep, thinking about it and not really doing anything about it.
Sure. So I've always been the kind of person who my background is in music. So I'm really used to working with teachers and coaches and mentors. And finally, I just said, okay, I've been doing this my whole life, finding people to help me learn how to do the things that I don't know how to do myself. So surely there's somebody who can teach me how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Awesome.
just finally took the leap and here we are.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about, tell me what happened during the program, after the program. How has your idea come to, reality? How is it different than idea stage?
Yeah, so it's been just in a couple of weeks, probably within the first two or three modules, I saw a huge difference. The first breakthrough that I had was learning how much that I didn't know. And then from there, it was really easy for me to figure out, okay, so this is what I don't know, and this is how I can learn the skill so I can keep moving forward. So immediately I got clarity on what it was that I wanted to do and how I could do it and make it happen efficiently and effectively.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, like, what did you try before the program to sort of go from idea to implementation?
I don't even really know that I had tried anything other
Mm-hmm.
than just thinking about it and writing it down. I did a lot of webinars and sort of was getting bits and pieces of information from here and there. And I did a lot of, journaling, but none of it had any sort of direction to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
was just making it up and hoping that it would work.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. And you didn't really try to sell anything, or there was no. Okay, right. And um, so tell me a little bit about. So during the program, you got some really great clarity. Kind of saw some of
Yeah.
the things that you didn't realize that you didn't know
hmm
beforehand. Um, but how did your? Because I think you sold some during the program, right? So
I
tell me
did.
about that.
So I sold two, when we first started, I set a goal of I wanted to sell three by the end of the year because I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, with the other business that I have and some big life transitions that are coming up, that's about the capacity that I can handle. But man, it happened fast.
Yeah, yeah.
I sold two in like a couple of days.
Couple
It
of
was
days.
amazing.
Yeah. And how much
Yeah,
did you sell them for?
I sold them for 2,500 a
Twenty
piece.
five
So I did
hundred.
right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I did 5,000 in sales. Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
And what do you attribute that to? Like what was the major change that allowed you to sell that?
I think it was a couple of things, but the biggest one for me was sort of because when you sort of get into business and you're doing all the niching work and that kind of thing, I think it's easy to fall into the trap that once you have a niche, you have to sell and market to everybody that's in that niche. So working with you and having the permission to only work with the people that I want to work with makes it so much easier for me to spot them and see them and be able to really target who I want to, share my services with and who I want to help.
I love
So,
that. And so you could
yeah,
see them really fast, right? It's like before
exactly.
you couldn't see them, and then after
Right.
you went through the program, like you said, within the first few modules, you could see them, which made it really easy to sell them into a $2,500 package. That's
Yes.
amazing. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I tell people a lot, like I don't even want you to start marketing or sales until you've done those first three modules, right? And
Yes.
I don't want you to, or if you are doing marketing and sales, like come to the first three modules and then it's going to make everything significantly better. What
Yes.
what would you say about that? If you do you like can you speak to like having done those first three modules make every marketing and sales thing that you're doing so much more effective, so much easier? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that if you put the cart before the horse, so to speak, and dive into marketing, and then you're going to go through the modules and realize, oh, wait a minute, there was a much easier way to do this. So just hold on. You can get through them really quickly if you just clear the time and do the work, and then it'll save you a bunch of time and
Yeah, exactly. So
everything will be easier.
yeah, so it's like people who are doing the marketing and sales and they're wondering why is this not working? Why is it not effective? I say like this is why the first three modules are so important.
Right.
They'll make everything so much easier. So
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, how does this business fit into the bigger picture of your work life? Because I think, you know, what I want y'all to know about Stephanie is that she's so creative and like such a, like, I just love her whole work story. So I want you to hear how this fits into her living her purpose and living her creative and like fulfilling work life. So tell me about that.
Sure. So my background is in classical music. I'm a classical singer and I do a lot of work with different concert venues and orchestras and doing solo work. So I don't do a whole lot of opera anymore, but I typically work as an individual with a conductor or a pianist to do a concert. And trying to get from point A, being in school, to where I am now has been such a crazy journey. I mean, having a million different jobs and sort of trying to figure out how to talk to lots of different people and figure out what lots of different people want, and then having to get up on stage and deliver a story to an audience in a different language and make sure that they understand it and come away with a beautiful experience. There's a lot of different skills that I've picked up. But the flip side of that was the skills that were missing were how to actually make a living doing that.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
so finally, when I graduated from graduate school, I found this great mentor and was like, you need to learn how it is that you're functioning and how you're thinking and how you process information. And she taught me all of these skills. And finally, I went, wait a minute, these two things really go hand in hand. Everything that I do is about communicating to people and connecting people. And doing some of this consulting work and helping people get better at building connections with themselves and with others is right in alignment with what I'm doing as a singer. So
Love it.
I started another business and off we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's awesome. So you get to bring the things that you learned from singing into this consulting package. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you get to combine multiple interests into this consulting package, which is like my favorite thing to help people
Yeah.
do, by the way, because it's like
Yeah.
they can't see it, but I can see it, and it's like you can have all these passions and you can put them all together and actually sell it, like you said, like really quickly. You can see it and sell it really quickly. But what
Right.
I also love about you, Stephanie, and your work is that this is just one part. The consulting is just one part of your work. This is also fueling your singing business too. So it's like you are still passionate about it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're not. It's not just like a side gig to make money, the consulting job, but it does also fuel another passion that you have, which is singing, and
Exactly.
allowing you right to like pick and choose the kinds of gigs that you want and not have
That's
to do
it.
the ones that you don't. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about that, like because I know you and I talked about that.
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, having a career in classical music, it's really expensive when you start out because you have to be traveling to all these places to audition and paying for lessons and paying for coachings and paying for photos and paying for recordings and paying for just to get the company to look at your materials to maybe hear you. You have to send in an application fee. And it can be really challenging without having a way to pay for it. So you feel like you have to do a bunch of extra stuff on the side and take a bunch of gigs that aren't necessarily fulfilling for you. So someone told me once that it can be a huge asset to singers to have what's called a correlative career. And I love that because I wish I could remember who said it.
Like
I'll see if
something
I
that
can think of it for you
correlates.
later.
I'm just gonna something that
Yes.
correlates. Yeah,
So something
correlative.
that you,
Yeah.
yeah, something that you love that goes right alongside of the career. So you have the freedom to use your art the way you want to use it instead of having to do it somebody else's way.
Ah, I love that because as an artist and as a creative person, even in such a creative field as music, sometimes people are putting you in a box of like what you
Yeah.
think you have to do to make money in that industry. But really,
Yeah.
there's so much freedom if you can, if you can get creative about how you fund it
Right.
and get creative about how you position yourself so that you
Right.
can really do just the creative work that you really love. So that's really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Stephanie, what do you think that you brought to the program that made you really successful during the program?
That so much of that comes from my background in music that it's amazing. I think a lot of people have the skills to be resilient and to be resourceful and to be tenacious and self-motivated and all of those things. But me in particular, I'm really good at just getting things done and not letting things stand in my way. I'm great at taking criticism and handling rejection and finding a way to spin that into something positive and something that I can learn from. So for a group boot camp program, that was really, really helpful for me because I could kind of work at my own pace. And when I needed help, I could go and get the help that I needed. And that allowed me to just get it done and see the results faster.
Awesome. Awesome. And I mean, I think also what you brought was your idea wasn't, so I mean, tell me about, because I know a lot of people think that they have to have like a really fleshed out idea, right?
Yeah.
And so tell me, like, what do you feel like you needed to bring? Because you brought an expertise, right? Like, you weren't just starting from scratch in terms of like, I have no expertise, I have no idea. But your idea wasn't super fleshed out either, right?
Right.
So what kind of stage of idea phase do you feel like is really good to be in, that you feel like you need to bring, but also that you don't have to bring this higher level of it being fleshed out? Can you speak to your experience with that?
Absolutely. I think that it's really helpful for you if you have an idea of what you want to do, but you maybe aren't quite sure how to get it done. And I think that it really helps if you know that it's something that people already need. So if you've been talking to folks and getting a feedback about how other people could use this in their lives, that really helps because it'll help you hone in your own process about how to do it and how to find the people that you want to work with.
Yeah,
and if you know that you're already good at it, and you just maybe need to add a few more skills to the package that you offer so you can keep growing and improving.
I love that. That's so perfectly stated, right? You're getting feedback. People need it. You know you're good at it. I love that. I love that. So, was there anything that you were worried that you might need to make the most of the program, but you realized once you were in there, you didn't need it because the program included it?
Sure. I was a little worried about not having individual attention with the group format, but then as soon as we got going, I was like, no, wait a minute. I know how to do this. I just ask.
Yeah, and I'm like totally there, right? Like I answer all the questions and yeah.
Right. And it's laid out so well that it does make it very easy to see when you need help and what you can kind of manage on your own.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, was there anything that you learned that you didn't expect? Anything that surprised you?
Yes. I love all of the mindset work that we did. I know that that's a huge piece of it. And I've always sort of known that I had some struggles around value and abundance and things coming from that, starving artist background mentality, but I wasn't expecting it to carry over into this business. I was like, oh, this will be easy to separate the two. Oh no, it definitely showed up in a big way. Yeah. So it was really helpful to have the tools to work through that so I didn't get stuck on it.
Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people, I know you haven't had the experience of doing other marketing trainings, but a lot don't include that. And so it's like, if you can imagine trying to do the marketing without having that mindset piece, it's very, very difficult for people. So, and that's why it's like sometimes people don't get results and it's not really their fault. They just didn't have, it's like they know what to do, but really that, mindset piece of it is so important.
Right.
So, tell me about the trajectory, of your business. Like, where do you think your business would be now if you had not done the program versus the long-term trajectory because of the foundations that you got in the program?
I would still probably just be talking to my friends, asking them what they thought and not getting anywhere. But But now I definitely have a solid plan for not just how many sales calls I want to do a week, but how many sales calls I can handle and how to fit it in with the other stuff that I'm doing with the singing and all of that.
Yeah.
And I did like I numbers aren't my strong suit, but now I'm realizing, no, I can figure this out. I'm a smart person. I can learn about numbers. It's just going to take a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
So with having that stuff that the program forced me to sit down and deal with,
Yeah.
now I can look at it and say, okay, if I want to make this much money, this is how many calls I have to do. This is what I want to sell. And from that, I was able to sit down with my husband and we did a whole 36-month revenue model build out, and we know how we want to scale things up in the next 6, 12, 18, et cetera months, and what kind of new things we can add on. So just having the foundations from the program really allowed me to see a much bigger vision than I was aware of.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it really helps you get clear on, if I want to make this kind of money, here's what it's actually going to take to do that.
Yeah.
But here's how I do it. And I actually know the steps that I'm going to have to take in order to get there. It's not like any kind of fuzzy, it's like you said, like if this is your income goal, well, you can work backwards from there and get really clear on how you actually get there. So that's awesome. I love hearing that. That's really great.
Yeah.
Really my last major question for you. So Stephanie this is what I love about Stephanie, is she got really resourceful to join the program, and she went and got a grant, y'all. She got a grant. So anybody who tells me they can't afford it, they can't get the money, I'm like, Stephanie got a grant. So if she can do it, you can do it. So tell me about that. How did you do that? I mean, I would love for you to tell the people who are listening, how you did that, why you did it, right? Because it still takes work to go and do it. And why was it worth it to you to say, it's worth it to me to go do the work, to figure this out, and to get this grant money? So can you tell us about that process?
I mean, part of what I've learned in this whole process is when you start your own business and you're kicking around all of these ideas, there's money everywhere. It's amazing. And this is a world that, the starving artist thing again. I was like, oh, I don't have any money and this is too expensive. But once you flip that switch and realize that there's money all over the place, you just have to look for it and talk to the right people. And I think it's a really good idea to start finding ways to get money before you actually need it.
Totally.
So, I mean, there's so many grant options, especially for women and small business owners. You just have to keep an eye out. The grants can sometimes take a long time to get your hands on and a long process to go through, but it always manages to be there.
Yeah. And you did it and you found it. And like you said, had you started on that process before you needed the money? Is that kind of how it worked?
Yeah, I had started looking. And then when I found this, I went, oh, this is perfect. Let me make sure I can actually find it. And then with the way your program is set up, I made back the investment really quickly. So
I love it. Awesome. So how do you think, Stephanie, that the process of going after and getting the grants and finding the money, how do you think that actually prepared you to be even more successful in the program? Do you think that it helped you build those mindset and persistence and tenacity and commitment skills before you even joined the program so that you could actually make the most out of it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for once you really want something, and once you see how it can change your life, and that the resources to get it are available, it sets all kinds of stuff in motion. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to really be serious, and I have to commit to the program and do all of the steps if it's going to work.
Yeah.
So they both kind of go hand in hand. The being able to get your hands on the funds, because this is not the last time that I'm going to need capital to help with my business. I'm going to have to do it again.
Right.
So it was really good for me to get used to just doing it and figuring out how to keep things in motion.
Yeah. I love that so much. Because I do think that people, they give up after the first try sometimes. It's like, oh, I asked so-and-so, they said no, I give up. Or I tried to get a credit card, they said no, I gave up. Well, it's like, if you really want it, if you're really committed to it, if it's really your dream, like you said, the money is there, but you can't stop on that first try. I mean, how many grants did you apply to, would you say?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah. But you were persistent, right? It wasn't like I tried one thing and then I gave up because it didn't work.
Yes. exactly. Yeah,
Awesome.
you just have to keep looking. It's there. It's just a matter of spending the time to
Yeah.
really figure out where it is.
Yeah. And that's how you have to be in your business if you want to grow it. It can't just be
Right.
like, I tried one thing and then I was over it. You
Right.
really have to be willing to try lots of things. So
Yeah.
awesome. Is there anything else that we missed, or anything else that you want to share with people about the program, about your experience, about what you learned that you feel like is important to share?
Oh, um, the Facebook group was so fun to get to see other people that are doing the same thing and get to follow their journey and connect with them and hear about, things that they're sort of working through and be like, oh, this is something I need to pay attention to. And just all the different resources that pop up from that. Like, I can't remember who it was in our group, but I had a question about some sort of technical format thing that's not really my strong suit. And she was like, oh, I think I'm going to use this. And I said, oh, this is great. I'm going to pay attention to this thread. And so just the information that you get from seeing other people that are also on the same journey is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. So it ends
Because
up
then
being
you,
like the group format ends up being a benefit instead of yeah. So you get like the benefit of the one-on-one support. You get
yes.
all the good stuff about that, and then all the good stuff about a group too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because it's so easy to feel like, you're doing this alone. And that's not conducive to feeling positive about the experience. So having the group to help you was great.
Awesome. 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 So last question for anybody who's on the fence about joining, what would you say to them?
Oh, do it. Please do it. I mean, I just, there's not really any reason to wait anymore. If you're thinking about, oh, I don't know if this is for me or not, just do it. I promise you'll find things that you didn't even know that you needed in the program to help you get to where you wanted to go.
I love that.